welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today's Tuesday, and for today's video, I have a furniture flip for you. Now, it really wasn't my intention to do a furniture flip on top of the last one so quickly, but I got started on these two little tables and they ended up taking a lot more time than I had anticipated. So as much as I wanted to spend more time creating with some of the beautiful redesigned products I just got in, I really needed to get these guys done and out of my kitchen. So that's where we are for today's video. They did turn out so beautifully. I am so happy with them. Thankfully, because of all the time and effort they took. So I'm glad they turned out well. And I hope you like them and are as happy with the transformation as I am. And I hope you do enjoy the video. I tried to condense all of the footage down from, I think I got 3 hours of footage, and that wasn't even close to as much time as I spent on these, down to like 7.5 minutes. So hopefully you like the video. And if you do, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you're new here and you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's get to the tables. So here is what I started with. These little tables have been in my way for a while now. I keep moving them around and couldn't find a place to put them. So I decided it was time to get them done and out on the floor and out of my way. So you can see the finish is very rippled and ugly and faded. And so I started with some Citristrip. I wanted to do these inside as much as possible. So the Citristrip was a good alternative to more harsh chemicals that you have to use outside. So I put a nice coat of the Citristrip on both of the tables, then covered it up with some saran wrap and left it for about a half an hour. Honestly, I probably left it a little bit too long before I took the saran wrap off because it was rather crusty and kind of stuck down to the tables a little bit. So I peeled the saran wrap back, and luckily the Citristrip wasn't too dry, so I was able to get most of it off with my scraper. I just used a regular scraper and just pushed the Citristrip off as best I could. I have to tell you, I really don't like this process very much. I am not a big fan of having to strip furniture. The goopy, icky, sticky mess that is made by the stripper is not one of my favorite things, but I am trying my best to get this darn varnish and the old ugly finish off of these tables. I did try and scrape around the edge, but the tools that I have available aren't really the best for this kind of work, so I just left it and figured I would have to sand it off. I took them outside once I was done scraping with the Citristrip and doused them with a little bit of mineral spirits. And since I didn't even have any steel wool, I had to go at them with my green scrubby from my kitchen and do my best to scrub as much of that Citristrip residue off as I possibly could. Then I just took some shop towels and wiped off the rest of the mineral spirits. Then it was on to sanding. So for this part of the tables, I used my palm sander and 150 grit sandpaper, and I was very careful to not push very hard on the sander. I really wanted to keep this tabletop as perfect as possible, and the last thing I wanted to do was accidentally go down through the veneer or ruin that inlay somehow. Then I grabbed my rotary sander and began the task of trying to get the little groove and the front of this table all cleaned up and all of that ugly old varnish off. This was definitely more of a chore, took a little bit of time. I was able to get into that groove pretty well, but the lip where the veneer met the tabletop was a little bit trickier, and I ended up using my Cricut tool to help peel that old varnish off. This definitely took some time. Then I went back over it with a little bit of sandpaper by hand and went around all of the tables or both of the tables doing that. So that process probably took me a good couple hours. Then I took them back in the kitchen, washed them up really well with just some clean water, and I decided I didn't want to stain the rim of these tables. I was going to go ahead and use some paint. I thought I would have a little better control that way. I didn't want anything bleeding into the tabletop, so I very carefully painted using layered chocolate mixed with a little bit of water around the fronts of those tables. Then it was finally on to finishing the tabletops, and for that I decided to start with a coat of Sweet Pickins clear oil wax. This is a great finish for raw wood. It soaks right down into the wood and just leaves this absolutely beautiful look to the wood. You can really see that inlay popping out of the wood. It is absolutely gorgeous, and you wouldn't have known until I did all of this that the roses are actually red and their leaves are actually green. So once that was done and the clear oil wax had sat on the tabletops for a few minutes, I wiped back any excess with a shop towel. I also used the oil wax to seal the layered chocolate paint that I had painted around the rim. There is that beautiful tabletop all finished. Once that was done, it was finally time to start the painting process, and I decided I wanted to paint these a light color so that those tabletops would really pop off of the base. I decided to go ahead and use DIY's paint in the color Creamy for this step, and I did put 2 good even coats of paint all over each of the tables, and I had to use a little bitty brush to get into all of those detailed areas, which took some time. Once that was done, I decided I wanted to protect the tabletops just a little bit more, so I used 3 coats of General Finishes Flat Out Flat top coat on each of the tables, letting it dry thoroughly in between each coat before I started my next step. Now, I'd already decided that I wanted these tables pretty heavily distressed to show off all of the beautiful detail. So I started with some 220 grit sandpaper and went over everything very lightly with that first, and then went in with a damp shop towel and did a lot of wet distressing along all of the detail areas and along the legs as well. Once I had finished distressing, I moved on to sealing my paint. For that, I grabbed my DIY clear wax and started by giving it one good even coat of clear wax all over, using my soft bristle brush to really rub that wax down into all the nooks and crannies, and then wiping back the excess with my shop towel. Then it was finally time for the last step, which was putting dark wax over the clear just to give these tables a little bit more of an aged patina. Now, I did use some mineral spirits to thin my wax down a little bit. I didn't want it too gunky or thick when I applied it. The nice thing about putting clear wax down before you start in with your dark wax is it adds kind of a barrier between the dark wax and your paint so that the dark wax doesn't soak right into the paint and make it look dirty or too grungy. So this step took me a little bit of time. I very carefully just went over little areas at a time with my dark wax and would wipe it back with the shop towel as I went. And then once that part was done, I would go back through, and any of the detail that I wanted to really stand out, I would paint a little bit more dark wax into those little nooks and crannies. And then, of course, wipe it back with my shop towel as I went. Now, I have to admit, these tables took me a lot longer to finish than I thought they were going to, but I am so happy with how they came out. I absolutely love the tabletops. I am a sucker for inlay anyway, and I think they both look fantastic. I hope you guys do too. guys think of my little table transformation? Aren't they lovely? I just think they're so pretty. I can see them at both ends of a couch with a little lamp on them, or opposite sides of a room, kind of bouncing off one another. The inlay is just fantastic. I had no idea that there was actually color in that inlay until I got all of that old ugly finish off of them. So I was very grateful that they turned out as well as they did. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of my transformation today, and if you have any questions. And for Friday's video, we are going to get back to playing with some thrift flips, and I am going to be utilizing some of the beautiful products I got in from Redesign for that video. So going forward, I'm really kind of hoping to go back to working through some of my stash in my kitchen and creating some things for Christmas, because it's going to be here before you know it. So anyway, I hope you'll join me for Friday's video. I hope you did enjoy today's video, and if you did, again, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, think about subscribing to my channel, and then just hit that little notification bell so you can follow along with all my craziness here at the cottage. Just a quick reminder too, all the products you saw me use from DIY and also Sweet Pickins can be purchased right now at my website at www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com, listed below in the description as well. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I hope to see you back here on Friday. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.